Hey, how you doing, guys? Hope you can hear me well. We are live. Shout out to Sam Lejeune for following me. Thanks a lot, buddy. Hope you are doing well. Nice to see you here. Hope your day was nice. I told you. Hello, sweetie. How you doing?
Hello.
Hope you're doing well. So, as I mentioned on Discord, today was a negotiation day. I'm probably going to do a stream one day about the importance of doing your own research about the companies that you are applying to that are sending you messages. Because I probably dodged a huge bullet today with that company. I need to be very, very careful when negotiating with them, imposing a lot of my conditions. And if they don't meet them, they don't want to respect them, that's going to be a hard no. Because from what I've seen, you can do your research on some websites. I'm going to talk about them at some point when I will do a stream about that. There's a website called Glassdoor. Just need to put an opinion on one of the companies in order to access everything. So put whatever opinion you have on whatever company you can. And then you can access commentaries about the job offers, how the company is treating their employees and stuff like that. What is the culture inside the company? And what I've seen from that company is that almost unanimously, it was like, there's a huge crunch culture. There's a terrible management, horrible communication. Feedbacks are horrible. I'm crunching at night. So... nope. Huge red flags. Let's see, I'm gonna put a lot of my conditions on that offer. They accept yes. That's cool. If they don't, that's going to be a huge bullet dodged. Anyways, let's start today's stream. Just going to change the music. And let me activate Snip so you can have access to the songs. Oops. There we go. Oh, fuck. Anyways, I'm gonna activate that later. It's not working for today's stream. Anyways, today we are talking about finding your voice. What is that? It's a job about being a concept artist and illustrator for a company. They want me full-time. Might be interested by that, but not with those conditions. I don't really like working full-time for someone. By the way, quick accountability. Yesterday I promised I will do a TikTok. I've done it. It's a complete cringe fest. It's also posted on Instagram. It's a complete cringe fest, but at least it's done. Yeah. So, yesterday we talked about the 10x rule, about why it was so important to aim very high, to fail very high, because it's still more than what you would have achieved otherwise. It makes you use more action and energy than you would have used, so you achieve more in any case, because in any case a goal is hard to achieve. So why not between hard and very hard? What's the difference? So there's no reason not to make it even harder, because if you make it harder and bigger, the reward at the end is bigger, so it's a bigger motivation for you. Anyways, then we discussed at the end of the stream, we talked about some books. We talked about a book called Mastery by Robert Greene. And this is the book we're going to talk about today. I decrease the sound a bit. The music. So Mastery by Robert Greene. This is a book that is very important. This is about basically finding your passion. That's how I call it. I will say you can expand that to finding what really interests you. Hello, Petit Poireau. How are you doing?
Hello. Hey there.
If you're doing well. So yeah, Mastery, Robert Greene, finding your passion, finding your flow, finding what really interests you, what obsesses you. And if you find what obsesses you, you can basically spend a lot of time and energy on it without facing any bad consequences, because you will have the initial primal curiosity and interest into it. It will be enough of a spark for you to keep up with it, stick to it even when it's hard, and eventually potentially reach very, very high levels of achievement. I'm gonna start with a quote from Robert Greene itself in that book, in the book Mastery. We imagine that creativity and brilliance just appear out of nowhere, the fruit of natural talent or perhaps a good mood or an alignment of the stars. It will be an immense help to clear up the mystery, to name this feeling of power, to examine its roots, to define the kind of intelligence that leads to it, and to understand how it can be manufactured and maintained. Let us call this sensation mastery. The feeling that we have a greater command of reality, other people, and ourselves. Although it might be something we experience for only a short while, for others, masters of their field, it becomes their way of life, their way of seeing the world, such as masters like Leonardo da Vinci, Napoleon Bonaparte, Charles Darwin, Thomas Edison, and Martha Graham, amongst many others. And at the root of this power is a simple process that leads to mastery, one that is accessible to all of us. And this is exactly what we will be talking about today. This might be a 2 or 3 part stream because it's very long. I'm at almost 30k characters to summarize that. And this is just my notes, so I'm going to expand on that, of course. It might be a 2 or 3 part stream. The TLDR of that process is that Greene gives us a high-level overview of the process. 1, we enter a new field with excitement, but also fear about how much there is to learn ahead of us. The greatest danger is boredom, impatience, fear, and confusion. Once we stop observing and learning, the process towards mastery comes to a halt. The second part is, but if we manage these emotions and keep pushing forward, we start to gain fluency and we master the basic skills allowing us to take on bigger and bigger challenges. 3. Eventually we move from student to practitioner. We use our own ideas and experiments, getting feedback in the process. We start to use our own style. 4. Then as we continue for years, we make the leap to mastery. We develop an initiative sense of the skill and have mastered it to the point of being able to innovate and break the rules. This is exactly what we can see with a lot of artists. They start as beginner artists, they develop a real good style. They overcome the fact that at the beginning it's hard. They develop their own style. And finally, when they become master at that, they get noticed for that, basically. You can have Greg Rutkowski, Piotr Jablonski, Craig Mullins, Jim Spake, John G. Park, Vitaly Bulgarov, Maciej Kuchara, Giamma, Rafael Lacoste. Artists like that, for example, Maria Panfilova, Alina Ivanchenko, Thomas Dubois, and other guys like that. So, the first task, and this is what we were talking about yesterday, going back to the inner child, to when we're children and stuff like that. It's finding your calling, as Robert Greene calls it. To me, this is finding your passion, finding your biggest source of interest. We're going to see later that we can use that to find... I mean, you can already put a 1 in the chat. I'm going to lead the charge. You can put a 1 in the charge if you also, just like me, have a fuck ton of projects sitting in your desk, in some notebooks, in your hard drive and stuff like that, your IPs, your stories, world building and stuff like that. We all have as artists. And with that tool, you can basically also figure out why this subject, why this story is so important to you. It obsesses you. The spoiler is that it talks about you. So first, finding your calling or life task. All of us, we have internal force that nudges us towards our calling or life's task. That's how Robert Greene calls it. As a child, we were intuitively drawn to certain topics or activity. Yet, as we mature, this force may be muted due to social pressures. We end up working for money or for others' approval and get disconnected from our potential true identity. This is why I was calling that the inner child. Because when you are very young, you're still kind of unaltered by others. You're still altered by our parents, by society, but a bit less than when we are adults. So basically what obsesses us when we are a kid in general is what will generally always obsess us for pretty much the entirety of our life. Sometimes when we forget about it, we can turn towards different interests. But I'm pretty sure we all have at least one thing that we have always been in love with since the beginning. That's this kind of stuff. It won't work for everything, but it can work for at least one thing. And we just need to find one thing. So if we look inward and reconnect with our natural inclinations when we are young, we find our vocation in work that deeply connected to who we were. We start with something that roughly fits us, then adapt along the way while building our existing abilities. And when we find our ideal vocation, it feels right. And we find ourselves learning much faster with a sense of childlike wonder. And this is this childlike excitement, wonder, primary curiosity that is driving us. Let's say you discover art, you're in love with that. You're thinking about it, you're obsessing about it, you're dreaming about it. You want to fill all your free time with that. That's that childlike sense of wonder. You're like, oh my god, you can do that in Photoshop, and you can do that in 3D, and you can paint like that, and you can use that filter. Oh my god, that's so cool. Pretty sure you get my point. This is this kind of real feeling of excitement. This happens a lot when we are discovering a game that we really like. This is temporary, of course. It's like, oh my god, and you can dash, you can dash, you can do that. Hello, Kyo, how are you doing?
Hey there.
But this is basically this feeling of excitement. And we need to kind of remember about when we were younger, what was sparking that interest. Of course, it might be very specific stuff. For me, it was, for example, Pokemon, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, collecting bugs. Mika Art Gaming, welcome, buddy. I've never seen you before. Welcome. So yeah, that's basically this kind of feeling. Mastery, the book describes that in 3 steps. First, you must connect or reconnect with your inclinations, that sense of uniqueness. The first step then is always inward. You search the past for signs of that inner voice or force. You clear away the other voices that might confuse you, parents and peers. You look for an underlying pattern, a core to your character that you must understand as deeply as possible. This is basically what obsesses you when you are very young, because you are still unaltered by others. Second, with this connection established, you must look at the character path that you are already on or are about to begin. The choice of this path or redirection of it is critical. To help in this stage, you will need to enlarge your concept of work itself. Too often we make a separation in our lives. There is work and there is life outside work, where we find real pleasure and fulfillment. This is exactly what we told about yesterday with the 10x rule, with people considering that work is painful. That's basically people separating work and life. Oh yeah, the examples of artists in this book is crazy. You know that Thomas Edison was a fucking loser at first. That's crazy. You can have some other example like Einstein was an academic pariah, for example. He's one of the biggest scientific of all times. Steven Spielberg did not even graduate from movie school. He sent the Schindler's List as his graduation project. That's crazy. Michael Jordan was a very big academic failure. He was not even liked and good at basketball at first. Yet, Michael Jordan is probably one of the biggest basketball players of all times. There's a metric ton of examples like that. Yeah, reality check and reach your search of purpose. Yeah. But basically, that's very important because when it obsesses you, when you really like it, when you have that childlike sense of excitement and wonder, it's not work, it's passion. Something that you like. Of course, it might be hard. But it eases up the process. It makes the process very, very much easier. And finally, you must see your career or vocational path more as a journey with twists and turns rather than a straight line. You begin by choosing a field or position that roughly corresponds to your inclinations. That's what we all do. We like art. I was in love with Harry Potter. This is my biggest influence in life. And it made me like art. So I went to art. This is roughly corresponding to what I wanted to do. I wanted to work in movie and video games. And fill up my imagination with crazy stuff. And then this initial position offers you room to maneuver and to basically develop important skills that you need to learn. So first, you recognize what you like. Secondly, you choose a path that roughly fits it. And third, from that path that roughly fits it, then adapt, twist, and change to make it fulfill more this passion. This is what we all are trying to do when we are choosing our studies or college and stuff like that. It's like, I like science, so I'm going to do science college, like STEM. I like art, so I'm going to do an art school. I like video games, so I'm going to do my best to work in the video game industry. This is the first step. Then you can go more specific and more specific. This is always a question I ask during my coaching and mentorship. It's like, hey buddy, what do you want to do? I want to get a job in the industry. Yes, but once you have that, once you have that job, what do you want to do? I don't know. I don't know. That's a real question. What's your end game? For me, it was video games. FPS games and other amazing genres influenced my curiosity about the making of characters and environment. And with movies, yeah, same. So basically, Robert Greene, that first part is giving some strategies for finding this life task, this obsession, this passion. First, return to your origins. For many of the masters, the inclination presented itself clearly during childhood. What were you obsessed with when you were younger? For me, like I told you, it was Pokemon, but it was just because it was funny. But the real first obsession I got was Harry Potter. I told you yesterday, my owl project is about owls, especially snowy owls, magic, cool wizard orbs, Gothic architecture, and night atmosphere. It's about an orphan getting lost, getting alone, and stuff like that. This is entirely about. This is exactly the same pillars as Harry Potter. This is just an example. Another thing that I really liked to do when I was young was to teach. To at least pretend I was a teacher. I love to explain stuff because I'm so curious about stuff that I love to share knowledge or what I think are valuable pieces of knowledge. I've always been that obsessive with everything that I always wanted to talk about that. I always wanted to talk about all the Pokemons and all the rules of the game and stuff like that. When I played MMOs, I was obsessing about that, and I love to write wikis and guides about the meta, doing some theory crafting and stuff like that. Love to explain stuff and to share knowledge. 2. Occupy the perfect niche. Find where your interests align in a field to identify a peculiar niche that you can dominate. This is exactly what we are trying to do. We are trying to be artists and stuff like that. My niche, for example, as an artist, is I'm doing historical medieval fantasy stuff, especially dark fantasy. Because again, magic, Gothic architecture, moody, night, dark themes, and dark colors, magic. Yeah, that's my niche. And everyone, almost every company asking me for work now is asking me exactly for that. No company will ever ask me to do sci-fi or modern stuff or character design. I'm doing mood. I'm doing world building. I'm not doing characters. I can write them, not drawing them. So my niche is medieval fantasy, dark fantasy, and historical. Because I love knights. I showed a friend recently a ton of books that I have. I have maybe 100 D&D books. I have dozens and dozens of books about history, knights, myths and legends. I have dictionaries about mythological creatures. I've been raised by that. My parents were they were basically reading me some books about folkloric creatures in France, in England, in the world, stuff like that. So I grew up passionate with that, with myths and legends. So that's my origin, basically. 3. Avoid the false path. This is going to be a dark one. We will all be attracted to fields for the wrong reasons. Money, fame, parental influence. I would add security, ease, stuff like that. We have to rebel against these forces and be honest about what our interests are. This is something I talked about a lot when I was talking about my experience in the industry. I don't think the industry is bad, just that it's not for me. I realized that only when I went inside the industry. I'm still working for the industry, but outside of it now, as a freelancer. At first, I was attracted to Ubisoft and Quantic Dream and big companies. I wanted to work at Naughty Dog and stuff like that because it was prestigious, famous, exciting projects and stuff like that. This year, I worked on crazy projects. I worked on some Warhammer stuff. I mean, last year in 2021 and 2022 now. But I worked for Warhammer twice, Lord of the Ring twice, on some crazy project about the Lord of the Rings. And this was a dream project for me as a kid. I loved Warhammer. I painted miniatures for over 15 years. I love Lord of the Rings. This is one of my favorite movie ever, if not my favorite movie ever. Equal with Harry Potter, I would say. And I worked on this project. It was like a dream for me, for 10 years old me. I realized that it was not what I wanted. This is a false path for me. What I really want to do is my owl and also to teach. Because my real interest is not in working for already existing project. My real interest is my project. 4th part, let go of the past. You need to avoid the sunk cost fallacy. I like that Robert Greene is mentioning that. We did an entire stream about the sunk cost fallacy. If something is wrong for you, abandon it. Period. You're not wedded to your past choice. You need to not feel like you have to rigidly stick with the plan that you set before. If it's not working, you need to admit that it was a mistake, and this is fine. And this is like any scientist is thinking. It's not a failure. It's just that you discovered a way that it's not working. So basically, you are getting closer to what you want. I don't know if you did that too when you were about to choose college and stuff like that, but I had no idea of what I wanted to do. And basically, the only thing that I did was, fuck it, I hate everything. I'm just going to stick to what I liked, which is video games and movies. I eliminated all the rest. And again, in my career, the sunk cost fallacy, for example, was when I joined Ubisoft on my first day. Right on my first day, I discovered it was not for me. It's not bad. Ubisoft is fantastic if you're a spirit of working for a company. I was so attached to absolute freedom, borderline dangerous freedom, to be honest, that just being stuck in a company for 8 hours, where I could do the work in 2, was fucking hell for me. And this is none of Ubisoft's fault. This was entirely my problem. And for years and years when I was at school, I was building my entire life, work schedule, identity, routine about and around the fact of joining Ubisoft. And on the first day I discovered, maybe after 2 hours having joined the company and start working, just installing my software, right when I was still installing my software on my computer and discovering the stuff, I already wanted to quit. Because I felt that something was wrong. And this is not to be woo magic and magical about that. It's just that, hey, I thought I wanted that. And in the end, this is not the fact of working for a big prestigious company that mattered to me. It's just creating stuff. I tried again by working for Netflix. I hated that. I tried again by working for Quantic Dream. I was like, Quantic Dream is so prestigious, but still it's kind of indie. In their mindset, it's going to be nice and creative. And indeed it was. It was crazy good. Still, I hated that. When I was talking about that, it was just like, I have no reason to ditch that company. How long did you stay at the industries? I never stayed for more than 6 months within a company. That's why this contract about working full-time for a company freaks me out. Because deep inside, I recognize that this is super comfortable to have a full-time job. But it's not that I'm scared and terrified of engaging myself with a company. It's just that I just don't want that. I feel that like if I sign that contract, I'm going to be chained with them. That's why I'm already negotiating like, hey, I can work for you for like 3 months from time to time. But don't expect me to work for 2 years for you. There's no way. No fucking way. And this is exactly the sunk cost fallacy in action. I build my identity about wanting to be in the big industry. And in the end, it was like, okay, I reached that. Cool. I'm able to do that, but I don't want that. And again, this has never been... I've never been in a problematic company. Ubisoft was incredible. At least in France, you have free fruits, you have free coffee, you have flexible schedule. They are treating us like princess, honestly. Treating us very well. I know there have been some drama in the industry everywhere, whatever. This has not been my experience. I'm sorry for those who had a different experience. I'm just talking about mine. Ubisoft was fantastic, objectively a fantastic company to work with. Especially if you're a parent with kids and you want a stable life, this is perfect. Quantic Dream, a bit more exigent, a bit more demanding, but still pretty good, pretty comfortable. You have flexible hours, paid very well, nice work atmosphere, very chill. And still, it was hell for me. Because I felt that something was wrong. At some point, you need to trust your gut feeling sometimes. And that's what we are going to see pretty soon. As you need to trust your gut feeling. And my gut feeling, right when I joined Ubisoft, was get the fuck out. Same with Quantic. It was get the fuck out. With that company, even if I'm freelance in my apartment, it's get the fuck out. Is the workflow painful, and do you need to go through it for the sake of learning art skill, or the specific art job is painful? Kind of confusing and problematic for individual development. There's always trials and error, of course, so you need to go through that. But what is exactly said in the let go of the past, don't feel like you have to rigidly stick with a plan that you said before. So basically, if you figure out it's not working for you, that's fine. You have still learned, you are still improved and stuff like that. So that's still a way forward. And the point of that, the entire point of that presentation is that once you have found what really matters to you, in order to refine that like a gem in the rough, you will have to go through that trial and error in order to further develop and refine your vision about exactly what you want. So the TLDR is that you need to embrace that process. It feels wrong, but that's good if it feels wrong, because you know you need to move forward. And what is really wrong is to feel that it's bad and stick to it. Exactly as I said yesterday about Bob, was like, hey, be careful what you wish for, you might get it. You got exactly what you wanted. You got exactly what you wanted. You got a job to just pay your bills and takes full of your time. Life is shit. Instead of going through trial and error and admitting that this is wrong, this feels bad, I'm not okay with that. It's like, no, this is my end game, I'm comfortable. No, you're not. You're lying to yourself. And this is the sunk cost fallacy in action. He knows that it's bad, but he doesn't want to let go of that. I'm pretty poor. Did you had like a major moment that made you go from wanting to quit the company to actually to do it? How did you find the strength to? I didn't. It's not that I didn't, but for Ubisoft, I was engaged for 6 months. And was like, this is my first job ever. I need that line. I need at least 6 months in the company, so I'm gonna stick to it. I discussed a lot with the HRs and my lead. My lead was adorable, most adorable person I've ever met in the industry, Eduard Marinov. Love you, buddy. This guy worked on Destiny 2. Basically, I talked to the HR and to the lead right from the start, like, hey, I'm on Steep, I'm on Rider Republic, this is fine. But eventually I would like to move on. I would like to work on For Honor, on Assassin's Creed, on The Division, on projects that correspond better to what I did. As I say, my niche is fantasy, historical, dark stuff, so Assassin's Creed would be perfect for me. And very quickly, because Steep was pretty new, and the problem with Steep is that it was easy for them to hire people, but very hard for them to keep them on Steep, because everyone wants to work on more prestigious project, and it's normal. Especially juniors. And a lot of juniors were working on Steep. So the problem is that I quickly realized that I was trapped. Because for them it was, they were hearing my desire to go elsewhere, but they were too comfortable having me stuck on Steep. So they would not let me go. So the only opportunity I had was to tell them at the end of my 6-month contract, where they wanted to renew me for 1.5 years. I was like, I'm sorry, but no. I have to let you go. I am sorry. Or else, give me a job elsewhere. And they couldn't offer that to me. They were aware of that, but it's like, we're sorry. It's so hard for us to hire people on Steep. There's no choice. And this is not to bash on Ubisoft. I don't want to be mean to them. So don't get me wrong. They were perfectly right to say that, and they were pretty honest to tell me about it. But basically, my only way was to tell them, I'm sorry, but I have to quit you. To quit. I won't renew my contract. I'm gonna get back to my home, redo my portfolio, and apply somewhere else. And maybe one day I will come back. It's going to be on another project than Steep. I'm sorry. Again, this is to let go of the past. I let go of a huge opportunity of having a career at Ubisoft. But I was just waiting for my contract to end. I didn't have the strength to do that before, nor did I have the resources to do that. Would you consider this time searching what you want like a waste of time, or the working experience for you was necessary? It was absolutely necessary. Because I would have never known that Ubisoft was not for me if I was not hired to it. I needed to go there and to know I got it, to stop dreaming and fantasizing about it, to stop thinking it as an ideal, seeing it for real. And so then being able to be okay, I have to grieve that dream, that fantasy I had about Ubisoft, because it is not how I fantasized about it. And this is normal. And this is entirely my fault. I was imagining something crazy, and it's not. It's just a company. Very good company. It's just a company and not up to my ideas. It's like when some people are naively in love with someone, they start to idealize the person. It becomes kind of disappointing and creepy. That's exactly the same. So you have to let go of that. So I had to let go of that. And 3 years building my entire portfolio, style and stuff like that, focusing on that. So I had to move on and to slowly but surely redirect my style, my portfolio, my interest towards something else. That's why I redid my portfolio in another style, which was not the style of Ubisoft, but a more cinematographic style. So this is absolutely not a waste of time. This is basically stepping stone and a learning step. There's so many stuff that I would like to clip. May I ask you to clip if there are some stuff, some interesting stuff, some answer to some questions, stuff like that? May I ask you to clip stuff, please? So yeah, let go of the past and finally find your way back. You will be tempted to deviate from the path throughout your pursuit of mastery. Even if you do mistakenly veer away, you can always come back. This is exactly what you explained. Even if I thought Ubisoft was my way to go, went back to my home. Wasn't that? Went back from my student home to mom's home. Get stuck in my fucking basement. We do the folio, we apply, and then go to Quantic Dream. Didn't work. Back to mom's basement. We do my folio, started working freelance. Fucking COVID. And now, finally moved on. Yeah, this was necessary. And on the other side, there was some steps that confirmed what I wanted to do. Every time I've been teaching, whether it was in Belcourt or in New Age, it confirmed my desire of teaching even more and sharing stuff and coaching people. Of course, every time. So this is a huge leap forward, and this is a confirmation thing. Every time I'm teaching in school, I'm like in my flow state, even though I'm tired. Sometimes I've been drinking the day before, stuff like that, because you like to party when you go to new town, of course. And still, I'm in my flow state. I love that. Absolutely love that. So this is the process. Return to your origin. Figure out the few things that always stuck with you all the time. Occupy the perfect niche. So you need to find where your interests align. You feel to identify a particular niche that you can dominate in. You need to avoid the false path. I was attracted to Ubisoft for money, for fame, for validation, but not for me. I was basically lying to myself, but I didn't know I was lying to myself. I basically was wrong. It's as simple as that. And you need to let go of the past and of the false path. Finally, you need to find your way back towards your goal. How long did it took you to let go once you realized what you felt was your ideal? Wasn't. I mean, was the grieving a long process? It was pretty hard. But for Ubisoft, it was pretty fast at the same time. I told you right after the first day, I wanted to quit. After maybe 2 hours, I was like, Tim, you need to fucking get out of here. I remember after my first week at Ubisoft, my parents tried to call me every day. I never answered the phone. They were like, oh my god, Tim is feeling bad. Let's go to visit him in Annecy. They visited me. We went to the restaurant and stuff like that. I did not talk at all. And yeah, when they left, they were like, oh my god, Tim is feeling so bad. So yeah, it was pretty fast. Honestly, it was pretty fast. It was painful. But the thing that made the process a bit easier for me was probably because I was already aware that I wasn't absolutely addicted to freedom. By freedom, I mean serenity, silence, carefree, no worry, peace. And be left alone in my sphere, basically. And for me, working at a company, it's just me again, was the exact contrary. It's not carefree. It's about to care for stuff that I don't care about at all. I don't care about the life of Billy from HR. I don't even care about the project itself, to be honest. I like it, of course, but it's not that it's a personal important thing for me. It was not carefree. It was not serenity because it was stress. Hey, you have the deadline, you have the pressure. Fuck that. I hate that. It's not my business. So it was the opposite of that. So as I was aware of that, it didn't surprise me, let's say. It didn't surprise me. I was shocked, of course, to discover that I didn't like it. But pretty fast, I was like, okay, makes sense. I understood why it didn't work. It helped me pretty fast. And with Quantic Dream, honestly, I signed, but I knew I would hate it. I just wanted to be sure. And now I'm sure. But the grieving process, no. The consequences of the grieving process was a bit harder because basically you need to... As I realized that I would never be able to work full-time in a company, or at least as an artist, maybe as a manager. As a manager, I think it would be easier. But not as an executant, as a technical artist or as someone would do. I would prefer to be the brain rather than the hands. Not to pretend I'm smart or something like that, but I'm better at dealing with people rather than dealing with what people want. I'm way better at helping people, way better than me doing great stuff. And just being the one holding the bar and driving the car and then pushing me and pushing the project rather than the one trying to push the project and dragging it down. So yeah, that's the grieving process. That's fine. The consequences was like, okay, I need to go freelance. And freelance, I kind of find the same issues, more manageable. Once you fix the financial aspect of freelance, which is the financial security, that's kind of fine. That's kind of okay. But it still confirms me that I want my main business to be managing people in art, of course, helping them develop their art. So it can be art director, it can be mentor, teacher, stuff like that. But I still love to draw on my own, of course. I don't like to draw for other people. I don't want someone to penetrate my brain, basically. I like the process of creating, not drawing. I like creating. I want to be the one that creates. I want the other people being the one that put my creation on paper. Kyo, I'm in the stage where I question whether or not I enjoy doing art. I don't know if it's imposter syndrome or being delusional. It's cool to make cool sketches and 2D renders, but then there's this question if you really like it because of the time you put in and no matter of outcome. Okay. Go watch the video about goals and motivation. This is episode 6. It will help you a lot. I think it will help you a lot. And also, if you really like art, question if you obsess about it. Are you obsessing about art? Are you dreaming about it? Are you losing sleep because you cannot help yourself but think about that and you can't stop your brain from thinking about that? Is that art? Is that creating? Is that imagination? Yeah, you wake up and you do art, but is your brain constantly thinking about that even when you want it not to think about it? That's the real question, in my opinion. Also, I would like to ask the question, why are you doing art in the first place? It's something we talked about with the class last time I did course, but basically, that's my 2 cents. I mentioned I was doing hypnotherapy formation. Had, what do you call it? A thesis. I have an essay to write at the end. My problematic was TLDR, are we artists because we have problems, or are we having problems because we are artists? And one of my key points is that when we are doing art, when we are driven towards art, that's for 2 reasons in general. When you are genuinely attracted to art and imagination. I think art is just a word to encase imagination. But we are attracted to creativity and imagination for 2 reasons in general. That's just my 2 cents. You are free to disagree with me. And I would love to hear other points of view if you have. But the 2 main reasons I have identified are, first, you are either running away from something. And art is basically your shelter, a way for you to get comfort, to get safe, to feel safe. And okay, that's interesting. We're going to talk about that. So the first reason you are doing art and using your imagination is because you want to feel safe. You want to run away from something, and this is a way for you to feel safe, to have a shelter. Or else, this is a way for you to express yourself. Because you have something inside of you that needs to come out, and it's coming through your art. It might be both too. In any case, these are the 2 main reasons I see people doing genuinely art. And create and tell a story, to me, this is on the side of I want to express something. Now, the next step is to ask yourself again, why do you want to express something and what do you want to express? I have an example again. We talked about it during the class. Give me a sec. I've been mentioning a few times that I've been doing hypnotherapy. Hence why I'm getting trained into it, because it works so well with me. I'm not saying it will work with everyone, but it works so well with me. I did in 2 sessions. In 2 sessions and $500, it was way better than maybe 10 years of psychotherapy. Like 2 sessions. And remember I mentioned I was obsessed with Harry Potter. Harry Potter is about an orphan being alone, having to grow up kind of alone with friends and stuff like that. When I did my hypnotherapy, it was first for procrastination. I told my therapist, hey, basically, I have this project with those owls. It obsesses me for years and years and years, and still I'm not working on that. We did hypnotherapy and whatever. The reason of my procrastination was because I was missing my dad. My parents got separated when I was very young, and I grew up with my mom, away from my dad. And I got kind of cut from my mom too. But whatever, this is not about my life. But basically what my therapist asked me after the session was like, hey dude, a product review out. I've never seen that, but the first piece that you have ever done about it, what it's about. What is it? Open my station, it was this. And there's everything. These pictures was summarizing the 3 hours of session that we did together. That's why I think when we are doing art, we have a specific access. We have a very privileged access to our subconscious and to what obsesses us. I'm not telling you that to make you cry or to tell a beautiful story. That's just an example, but that's just to illustrate this idea of obsession. That's probably why Harry Potter is obsessing me, because he's an orphan. He's deprived from his parents. The Riddler, you know what? Get out of here. Congrats, buddy. Fucking bot. What the fuck is that? They got some bots. Anyways. Anyways. Let's start clean. There we go. And I lost my background. I don't know why. I don't know why I lost my background. There we go. It's back. So, by the way, sweetie, may I name you moderator, please? Anyways, so yeah, I personally obsessed with being good at art, plus it is almost perfect media for me to express my stories I have in my head. Nice. I would ask you, why are you obsessing about being good at art? Is that because it makes it easier for you to express your stories? Is that for other thing? Because as we have seen, generally doing that for fame or recognition is generally a pretty bad way to improve eventually. Because we are doing that for someone else or something else. So that's the first part, about reconnecting to ourselves and to what we really like. The second part is about becoming the ideal apprentice. There's also very always wanted to look perfect for people with no default. Okay, this is interesting. Not here to be the psychologist or something like that. But this is exactly that point when they are mentioning the false path, doing that for someone else under someone else's influence. And the problem with recognition is that generally it's never enough. We never have enough. I'm gonna give an example from a movie. I'm gonna give an example from a story before going to the second part about recognition. You know the story in Naruto, he wants to become the Hokage, the village boss, basically. So everyone can respect him. And for as long as he's working on that and focusing on that as a goal, just to be respected, he's not getting there. And everything in the story is reminding him that he won't get there this way. Someone else gets named Hokage before him. He's immature, stuff like that. And that's when he's starting to care about people that eventually becomes Hokage. Because now it's not the goal, but the results of all the efforts that he made. That's just my 2 cents about that. But generally, recognition should be a result. It should be a subproduct of something, not the goal. Because if that's the goal, it will consume you in some ways. Was a dancer, was my false path. I went dancing in real life in my head. With no music was very. That's fine. That's fine. Expressing yourself. At least you know what you are doing art. What you are doing art. You're doing that to express yourself. That's fine. It's already a good way to move on, I would say. So, next step, be the ideal apprentice. All masters go through a transformative phase in their life, like how a butterfly emerges from chrysalis. This typically involves a self-directed apprenticeship that lasts 5 to 10 years. During the apprenticeship phase, your goal is not to seek money or status. Wink wink to you, Mika. Or wink wink to me when I was focusing on Ubisoft. But to transform your mind and character, go beyond the theoretical knowledge from your formal education to gain practical insight of how the world truly works. Develop practical skills and discipline, and train yourself to think independently. Choose a role that will give you the greatest growth opportunity. Charles Darwin spent almost 5 years on a ship collecting life and mineral specimens. The voyage transformed him from a reluctant student to a committed, enthusiastic naturalistic. The insights from those months of real-world study sparked his theory of evolution, which he then devoted his life to validating that. So again, you see, the journey, even though it's filled with mistakes, is the one that will define you progressively. So that's fine. Let's say you have a nice project. You start developing a crazy project that you have as a kid. You work on it, you work on it, you work on it. You figure out it doesn't work. Get rid of that. Start a new one. And it won't be lost. It will be built on the failures of the previous one. So you will know everything not to do. So already you are getting closer to your destination. There are 3 steps again. The first one is deep observation. It's called the passive mode. This is a quote from the book. The greatest mistake you can make in the initial month of your apprenticeship is to imagine that you have to get attention, impress people, and prove yourself. These thoughts will dominate your mind and close it off from the reality around you. You start by observing who is doing well in the field and trying to learn the rules and strategies through your observation of them. That's exactly what we said yesterday. Learn the rule, master them, excel at them, and do whatever the fuck you want. Steps 2, skill acquisition, the practice mode. Again, this is another quote. First, it is essential that you begin with one skill that you can master that serves as a foundation for acquiring others. You must avoid at all costs the idea that you can manage learning several skills at the same time. You need to develop your powers of concentration and understand that trying to multitask will be the death of the process. This is super important. And this is why you start with one skill that you can master, as he says. This is art. This is drawing. This is dancing. This is writing. This is being good with computers. This is being good with science. This is being good with a foreign language. Whatever. Start with that. And by working thanks to that, it brings you security, calm, peace of mind, stability, so you can spend all your free time expanding upon that. For example, I started with art. When I was at school, in art school, I didn't know I wanted to teach. And this is kind of paradoxical, and I'm talking to that all the time with the other teachers, that I've been the shittiest student you can ever have at school. I would have been the most horrible student in class. That's horrible. I hated school. From my 3 years old, from when I entered the school, to my 21 years old when I got a burnout and quit Belco. I hated that from start to finish. Of course, there was a few days I liked it. But school in general, it was horrible. It was hell for me. And still, I'm absolutely in love with teaching. And this is probably because I've been very, very frustrated with what I've got in terms of teaching. So what's interesting with that is that I started with art, but all the other experience, having a shitty experience at school, having all the teachers shitting on me all day long, wanting me to quit, wanted to quit Ubisoft on the first day, wanted to quit Quantic Dream on the first day, wanting to quit this company while not having even signed the contract. It's building that skill, that certitude that I know that I want to teach. I want to work for myself. I want to be my own boss. I want to work on my own project. Stuff like that. So you build upon that. Start with art. Maybe you start with environment design. Then you start working as an environment designer. And on your free time, you learn character. And a few years after, you are good enough to do both environment design and character design. And then you learn how to teach. And then you become an art director. Maybe you start with 3D. That's fine. Then you slowly but surely develop skills about concept art. Now you're able to do both. A lot of artists have been doing that. The opposite, you learn concept art first, then you start learning 3D. Slowly you transition from concept art to concept designer to maybe even hard surface producer. But trying to learn everything at the same time is shit. You need to specialize first. You need to find your niche, as he says. You need to find your niche. Excel at that. I know it's kind of hard at schools. Because in schools you are learning a bit of everything. Because at first it's a very general cursus. So it's very hard to already specialize. But still, there might be things that you know, probably few chances that you do that. I'm not telling you to abandon that. I'm just telling you that at least you know what to focus on more. Don't sacrifice anything at school if possible. pretty soon, even at school, you know that you're going to specialize towards environment, 3D, movies, VFX, Houdini, hard surface, soft surface, ZBrush, grooming, clothes, stuff like that. At some point, the school will even expect you to specialize. Of course, some people might become very good, very specialized generalists too. Become good enough. But I would say that in order to find a job, it's easier to specialize. Not too soon. You need to have a taste a bit of everything to make the good choices and not think that this is a good thing, invest all your time and have a freaking mistake. You need to taste a bit of everything before figuring out what you like. At some point, the school is almost expecting you to specialize. I'm not telling you what to do in school, by the way. I'm not affiliated with the school anymore now. And step 3 is experimentation, the active mode. You had the passive mode, observation, skill acquisition, the practice mode, and now the active mode, experimentation. That's when you need to find your style. As you gain more skill and understanding, you must move in the active mode where you take the skill and apply it to yourself. You have to break out of just following the rules and start creating new works on your own. This is when you finally claim your independence. That's when you start doing your own project. That's when you start specializing to one specific thing. You become almost as good as your teachers. Or even better, and you're becoming so good and so niche that they have to find very good specialists outside of school to teach you stuff. Yeah, I know that New Age is doing that, for example, which is very good. So here are some strategies to completing the Ideal Apprenticeship. 21 and 29. Wow. Okay. Cool. First, you need to value learning over money for as long as you can. I know that money is very important, especially because if you don't have a roof over your head and your bills paid, nothing else exists. This is a survival problem. Once it's solved, value learning over money for a long time. Einstein was working at the patent office to give himself time to work on his failed experiments. So it's very important to basically learn to get by on very little money and give yourself the time to learn as much as possible. A very good tip that my mentor told to some buddies in my group, in my coaching group, was that basically, let's say you want to fix the money problem, the learning time problem. Something you can do is you get a night job at, like as a receptionist in a hotel, for example. There will be at maximum like 2 people coming during the night, and the rest of the night from 11 to 7, it's free time for you to learn. Listen to audiobook, you bring your laptop, you start drawing, you bring your sketchbook, you draw. So basically you are getting paid to learn. You do that for a few months. You can learn coding in like 3 to 4 months. You can learn drawing pretty fast. You can work on your portfolio. Stuff like that. That's exactly what Jerry is doing. Paradox. That's exactly what he's doing. Working in like I think a gas station shop at night. So there's maybe 2 or 3 truck driver coming just to get a sandwich and a beer. The rest of the time there's no one. It's free to learn, listen to audiobooks, draw, do whatever he wants. It's basically paid, bills paid to learn. I didn't thought about it either, but it's so smart. It blew my mind when I was listening to that, and I was like, wow, if one day I want to reconvert, I'm getting a night shift. I'm doing that for sure. In like 4 months, you can learn coding or something like that, so that's a very smart idea. Or even to do your homework as a student, stuff like that, but of course you need to sleep. But let's say during the summer, this might be a very good plan. If you can then shift back to normal schedule, of course, this is very hard. Yeah, a cleaning guy. The rest free time to learn more. You quit the job. It was hard. Yeah, it's hard because it's very taxing in terms of energy. That's why being a receptionist is very good. Because there's nobody. You don't have to do anything. You just have to wait and be there. So they won't call you if you have a computer or laptop and you watch whatever movie you want, or if you are smart, you are learning. You can learn coding in 3 months. Get paid at least 70k per year. Just after 4 months of bootcamps of coding. Are very good. Next, keep expanding your horizon. Mingle with as many different people and ideas as possible. They will all contribute to enhancing your learning. Whenever you feel like you are settling into some circle, force yourself to shake things up and look for new challenge. This is all that we said about expanding your comfort zone. You need to be surrounded with people that are better than you. If the people around you are not as good as you, or even below you, you won't learn any shit. You need to be with people more experienced than you, that are achieving what you want to achieve in order to learn from them. Simple as that. By expanding your horizon, it's not focusing on 20 things at the same time. But it's dealing with people that are better than you on that specific subject that you want to learn. Currently, I'm learning social media, marketing, and sales funnels. So it's basically digital marketing 101. I'm spending time watching videos from digital marketers. I'm asking my mentor about that because he's very good about that. I won't spend time with people that don't know shit about that. Of course, I will spend time with people that don't know shit about that if I want to do something else. But when I want to learn, I won't talk to any normie people that don't know shit about that. I won't ask them. As simple as that. And this is exactly what was said just after. Revert to the feeling of inferiority. Basically, you need to be with people that are better than you. Zen mind is beginner's mind. If we feel like we already know something or have mastered it, we stop learning. We need to assume that we are beginner and there's more to learn. As simple as that. Complacency will drag anyone down. If you are with better people than you, that's the next step. You need to trust their process. They see things that you don't see yet. It takes time. As long as you're learning and working, you will keep moving towards mastery. Mentors, high-achieving people, superstars, they did not got there in one day. It takes time. It takes time to build an audience, to build a Twitch. I was expecting to release my mentorship in March. To be very optimistic. I'm still aiming at that. I would like at least 20 to 30 signups before releasing that. Without that, there's no point releasing it. So if it takes till June or September, I don't care. I'm still applying the 10x rule. But I need to trust the process. It's slow, it's steady, it's going to get there. Same with becoming an art director, same with my crypto, same with my finance. Everything takes time. As long as you can see the slow and steady result, that's fine. Next, I like this one. You need to move towards resistance and pain. Once we get good at part of a skill, we tend to just do that since it's easy and familiar. We avoid our weaknesses that prevents us from learning. Instead, we must follow the resistance path. Fighting against where we want to go and making it more challenging for ourselves. That's the 10x rule in a nutshell. That's exactly what I said about a portfolio project that you don't know shit about how to do it. You would commit first, and then you will figure that out, how to make it on the fly. Next, apprentice yourself in failure. When machine malfunctions, it shows you why you need to improve it. Treat your own failures the same way as opportunities for improvement. We talked about that dozens of times already. See, it's two books that have nothing in common and still they are crossing each other perfectly. Next, combine the how and the what. You need to get a full understanding of the skill, not just the receipts or tools. Don't leave parts of it unlearned. You need to combine theory and practice. If you are only good at theory and you have never practiced, you don't know shit. If you only have the... Basically, if you only have the theory and never practice, sorry for that expression, but you are an intellectual masturbator. That's basically the idea. That's why committing is the hardest part. Learning something is pretty easy. The theory of that is pretty easy. Committing to it is so fucking hard. Because we realize that we don't know that much. And this happens all the time when drawing. When you're drawing, you think you know something, but your hands doesn't want to replicate that on the paper. And this is exactly why we need to move towards resistance and pain. When you are failing, that's moving towards pain. And if we get trained to tolerate that, eventually we will push it forward, because pain of yesterday is still smaller than if you get used, it's smaller and smaller compared to today. No, sorry. Pain today is smaller compared to what it was yesterday, and so on and so on. So you can push it and push it, push it, and get more tolerant. It's like when you are doing bench press, you start with maybe 50 pounds, it's already a lot. You move to 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, that's already a lot. 120, you are able to do 8. Then you do 130, you are able to do 5, but you know it's already possible. And eventually you do 8 on 130. And you move to 150, you do 3, okay. And the next day you do 4. Eventually you do 8, and then you push it forward and forward. That's exactly the same. You need to advance through trial and error. Try a different path and adopt new skills. Avoid following a fixed path. Sorry. Try a different path and adopt new skills. Avoid following a fixed career path. Especially spend your 20s moving around and exploring different paths. Learning everything you can do along the way. This is super important because in your 20s, that's where you have the most energy and time. When you're in your 30s, especially if you have kids, credits, a car loan, a house loan, it's very, very hard to take risks. So when you still don't have any responsibilities aside from yourself and be your cat, that's why you can afford to take the most risk. And worst case scenario, you can still get back to your parents in general, if they are nice, if you are nice to them. There's a quotation from Robert Greene. In this new age, those who follow a rigid singular path in their youth often find themselves in a career dead end in their 40s, or overwhelmed with boredom. The wide-ranging apprenticeship of your 20s will yield the opposite, expanding possibilities as you get older. So this summarizes the question of P.T. Poirot and Kyo, I guess, about is that time wasted? Is that hard? No, that's part of the process. Yeah, uni is sucking all your energy. I don't like uni at all. I'm sorry for you. I don't like uni. This is my 2 cents. Don't burn me. Don't put my head on a pike for that. I think that uni, except maybe if you are doing STEM or law enforcement or medicine, not a big fan of that. Especially living in the US. Let's say you want to do like, I don't know, like a small business management school. You want to have a master of that. It costs you 150K. You start at 20, you end up at 25. You go from, cool, I have a master degree in management. So that's one day, and the next day you are a fucking jobless loser. Woo, cool. On the other hand, what you could do, you start working at 20, even in a small retail job. You climb the ladder. At least when you are 25, you probably have a company with few employees, maybe a car and stuff like that. Maybe 1 or 2 establishments. You have 0 debt. You can start your life way sooner. And basically, you are 25, you have 5 years of experience, you have a job, you have maybe employees and a company, you have zero debt, you have savings, you have patrimonial possessions. Compared to being 25, 150k in debt, no experience, no job, no fucking clue about how to get a job, and you start at level 0. That's just my 2 cents about uni. Art school, that's a bit different. You need to learn a technique. It's so hard to learn that unless you can be a very good self-taught people, some people like that exist, but it's very hard. Art school might give you a context for that. It might also give you a network. The school is placing you properly. But that's my 2 cents. So, and worst case scenario, you are doing uni, at least you know what you don't want to do. That's still moving forward, that's fine. Whew. We are at 1 hour and 24 minutes already. I've done only 2 out of the 6 parts of mastery. So it's going to probably be a 3-part stream. Whew. Has it been useful, guys? The one in the chat. If it's been useful. I don't like uni. I really don't like uni. Okay, the TLDR is get back to what we call the inner child. What you liked when you were a kid, what you were really obsessed while you were kind of pure and innocent. Then it's like a gem in the rough. It's going to take mistakes and error to polish that, to clean the shit out of it. Return to your origin. Occupy the perfect niche. Avoid the false path. Let go of the past. Find your way back. Sometimes you lose yourself. Go back. It's like following a path in the forest. Sometimes you lose yourself. You go back on track. Start again. And be the ideal apprentice. First, observation, then skill acquisition. That's when you practice. And then you experiment. But when you are learning, it's not the time to experiment. Not yet. When you are learning, it's the time to put that in practice. When you know you can put that in practice effortlessly, that's where you start experimenting your style. But don't try to experiment when you are still learning. That's something I say in my mentorship, but that's basically at some point when you want to make a nice portfolio for a company, you need to learn new skills, new process. You need to have a better rendering, a better style, better use of 3D for the concept, whatever. You need to learn some stuff. Something I see all the time and that you can see all the time on ArtStation is people posting art and you know it's from a tutorial. It's like, oh, cool, another 8-Zana tutorial about 3D code. Cool. And that's basically when people are learning, putting that into practice and then posting that. If you know it's so close, yet so badly done compared to the master, it's not mastered skill. The skill will be mastered when you are doing the tutorial, have kind of replicated the subject of your master, and then you are able to use the tools and techniques and skills in a picture that has absolutely nothing to do with what was in the example of the tutorial. You see my point? And that's where you start experimenting and mastering the process, and it becomes part of your process. I know this is going a bit freestyle. We are going back and forth between Notion, but this is just like an open discussion. I really like the fact that you are becoming more active in the chat. I really want it to be like a big discussion together. It's very cool. Whew. So yeah. And to complete the Ideal Apprenticeship, Value learning over money or fame or recognition first. You'll get that later. And money, fame, recognition, praise, approval. This should not be your goal. This is a result of becoming better. Making more money is a result of you first knowing how to make it, so becoming better at how to make it. And to make more money, you need to help your clients, your company, anyone get basically better and make more money too, thanks to what you're bringing to them. Keep expanding your horizon. Revert to a feeling of inferiority. Stop just doing what you know and think that you know everything. Be with people better than you, that you are impressed by, that you admire, that you are inferior to. And as they see things that you don't see, trust the process. Try it for at least 3 months. If there is no results, and you have done the work, of course, don't lie to yourself. If you have done the work properly, if you have done exactly what they told you, and after 3 months there's no results, or it's worse than before, maybe this person was a con artist. Okay. If there's at least a slight beginning of results, that's where it's gold. Because you know, progress is like basically exponential curve. It starts very slow, and when you start to take off, it goes parabolic then. That's how you learn. And for years and years, or months, improvement is barely noticeable. And one day, poof, take off. If you want to learn more about that, you need to read the Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. We're going to talk about that book after Mastery, if you want. Trust the process. Move towards resistance and pain. Apprentice yourself in failure. Combine the how and the why, so the theory and the practice. That's a big grift I have with a lot of people online. That's business 101, by the way. They are teaching you the what to do, but not how to do it. If you want to filter someone, if you really want to filter a teacher or some videos online or stuff like that, something you can recognize is that person teaching me just the what or the what and the how? And a lot of times to sell you products and stuff like that, people are telling you the what and putting the how behind the paywall. In some ways this is fair, but sometimes this is very dishonest, because I think that in order to gain trust to sell a big product, you need to still give some gold nuggets. And to me, the product is just a very concise and efficient way to organize that. Next, advance through trial and error. That's pretty much it. Tomorrow, we're going to see the third part, how to learn optimally from your mentor. And the fourth part, how to cultivate social intelligence. If you have any questions, feel free to ask and still have a bit of time. As always, usual jazz for YouTube. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment if you agree or disagreed. Feel free to join us on Twitch, and feel free to join the Discord down below. If you want to support my work, there is a link to send me a bit of something. If you want to support the stream and the work in a non-financial way, the best way is first to join me on Twitch and on Discord, and also to recommend the stream to people around you you think might benefit from it. We are building a very nice community. We have a lot of people very motivated, and we have a lot of projects. Lucas Kenan, welcome, buddy. Hope you're doing well. I'll read your message, and I'm not mad at you at all. I know you have priorities. Welcome, buddy. Nice to see you back. Hope you are doing great, buddy. Anyways, feel free to comment if you want. I'm gonna keep up with the TikTok. Guys, I'm gonna ask you if you are okay with that. If you can clip some things that you think are very important. I would really appreciate that, because this way I can get the clips and post them on Instagram and Twitch and stuff like that without having to review 2 hours of stream. So yeah. Am I still working on my house? Yes, of course. I'm going to be back on drawing stream as soon as I can. I don't want to promise anything. But I need to finish my 4-piece, the bluish ones with the runes. I have the one like the book cover that I've printed. That looks pretty cool. So yeah, still working on my owls. I'm gonna post other stuff for sure. I have some ideas for my owls. I want to make a sequence pretty soon. How can you find and explore different subjects? Give me a sec, I'm gonna sneeze. It's not coming out. I have a question. If you're searching for purpose and obsession. That's exactly what I said at the beginning. You need to... I think you need to first start from where you were as a kid. What really obsessed you? What you really like when you were a kid. That's still sticking to you up to today. We all have stuff like that. But I told I've always had a very obsessive personality. Every time I was playing a game, I wanted to be the best. I was obsessing about that. I was only playing one game. When I was playing Pokemon, it was only Pokemon. I was playing MMOs, it was only one MMO. When I was playing Overwatch, it was only Overwatch. The only game I'm playing right now is Destiny, but I still have time to play it. I'm obsessing about that, about every aspect. The meta, the theory crafting, the loot tables, the builds, the strategies. I want to refine to have the best strategy all the time. That's how obsessive I am. The biggest thing, the biggest obsession that stuck to me since I'm a kid, at least for the longest, has always been imagination in general. I've always been a very creative kid. I was not reading, I was devouring books when I was a kid, devouring movies and stuff like that. And my in terms of art, my biggest influence that I ever got was Harry Potter. I said my project with my owls, snow, magic, dark atmosphere, gothic architecture, orphan. you can have the links with Harry Potter pretty immediately, because it taps into the same archetypes that I really like. Same, Lord of the Rings. I'm still crying every time I watch Lord of the Rings. This has been such a big influence for me, but not on the artistic side. It's more on the personal side, because it's a myth. It's to me, every character in the Lord of the Rings is displaying virtues that I admire. Aragorn is displaying virtues about stability, chivalry that I admire. Sam is all about love. Frodo is all about passion. Legolas is about skill. Gimli is about being human, which is kind of paradoxical for a dwarf, but he's more human than humans. Merry and Pippin is about love. Eowyn is about passion. Faramir is about duty and fighting for something greater than you. It shows virtues that I admire, that I want to get in my life. Basically, I want to get those virtues in my person. But Harry Potter, I don't know. It's the story itself, the character, the atmosphere. You know, it's like we all have that, I think. But for me, Harry Potter, this universe, every time I see that, every time I listen to the music, I think like it's part of my home, basically. Every time I watch Harry Potter, it's like I'm back home. I've been so obsessed with the first Harry Potter, I watched it 7 times in the theaters when I was a kid. twice with my dad, one with my mom, one with my grandparents, one with my uncle and aunt, one with my other aunt, and another time with a friend of mine. What's my favorite Harry Potter? Oh, that's so hard to tell. I love the first one. I absolutely love the first one because nostalgia. The third one is incredible in terms of mood and visuals. The seventh one, the two parts of the seventh one is pretty good. But in order, I would say 1, 3, and 7. The fourth one is pretty cool. I don't know, in the third one, there's something so incredible. I love the sixth one too. It's a part. The sixth one has something visceral in it, especially with Drago and the disparition chamber. There's something with Draco that is quite incredible with that. It's hard to tell. Oh, Foskog. Yeah, I love the Lord of the Rings. I'm always crying in front of the Lord of the Rings. All of them. Every time I see Galadriel for the first time, I'm crying. Every time I see Boromir there, I'm crying. Every time I listen to the Rohan song for the first time, when you see Edoras and stuff like that, it's like, oh. Every time I see that Gandalf is back. Every time in the third one, I'm basically crying all the time. But there is Frodo being attacked by the spider, and he sees the vision of Galadriel. It's so beautiful. Everything about Sam is incredible in the third one. When Aragorn is becoming the king. Everything with Erwin. Especially after she fought the Witch King, it's incredible. The entire epilogue of the Lord of the Rings is crazy. So yeah. But Harry Potter, it's more about the archetype and what it's telling. What it's about. Lord of the Rings, it's about the characters. It's the story. It's incredibly well written. It's a myth to me. Harry Potter is more about what it's about. It resonates more with me, personally. I would say Lord of the Rings resonates with me as a human being. As a human being, I would dare to say as a male human being. It resonates with what I would define, at least for myself, as the virtues I want to have. But Harry Potter resonates to me as me. Just not as a human being, but as me. It resonates with me as Tim, basically. Oh yeah, Pelennor Field, incredible. Yeah. So, this was a nice discussion, guys. Tomorrow, we are talking about learning optimally from your mentor and cultivating social intelligence, and maybe more, because I see it's kind of short now. See you tomorrow, guys. Take care. Tomorrow I'm fixing with the music because I see it's not appearing. I must say I really appreciate the way it's going with the stream, with the discussion. The chat is becoming very active, and I love that. So keep going, and please, if you can clip some stuff that you think are nuggets. And I'm gonna create a link section in the Discord if you want to send the clips. It will help me so much, guys. This way I can share them on TikTok and stuff like that. And Pints, thanks for the stream. This was very helpful. This is your first message. Thank you, buddy, for coming. Nice. I'm glad that you enjoyed that. I'm pretty happy that we stuck to 10 people or more for the entire stream. This is incredible. Thank you so much. And again, to abuse your time. If you can follow it on Twitch, if it's not done yet, I would gladly appreciate that. I'm glad to hear that it's resonating with you. If you want, you can watch all the other videos on YouTube. I'm gonna rework the miniatures and stuff like that to make them a bit more friendly towards YouTube. But there is the YouTube link if you want to watch everything. And we are always talking about that. I'm doing my best to talk about business in the art industry and make sure that you can get your first job. I'm also talking about quote-unquote personal development for artists, being a fulfilled artist, making money, and not being the cliche, starving, depressive artist. Basically, that my goal is to avoid, is to destroy the cliche of the cursed artist, basically, and do my best to at least make the viewers have the tool to be fulfilled and happy persons. That's it. Thank you, Petit Poil. Oh, another New Age student. Wow, so many New Age students. I'm not here to concurrence New Age, by the way. I love New Age. But when I'm streaming, I'm not affiliated at all with New Age. This is not a counter stream. This is not the counter Discord to New Age. I love them. Nor am I hustling New Age students to do anything for me. Just to be clear about that. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, okay. I did a demo in your class. Cool. Première 3. Cool. Yeah. Thanks a lot, guys. Hope to see you soon in New Age. I have no other course for the rest of the year, unfortunately. But there might be other opportunities to come in Paris. And next year, I will really hustle them to teach more. Have a good evening, guys and gals. Other fellow human beings. Take care.